Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're checking out the Razer Forge TV today. This is a new gaming device from Razer that is running the Android TV operating system, which is pretty much Android 5.0 Lollipop on a TV box, and it looks very much like the Nexus player that we looked at a few months ago with some significant omissions, which I'll get to in a minute, but they are running pretty much stock Android on the device, and it does have a nice interface to it, so they haven't done anything really bad to the interface overall. If you liked what you saw with that Nexus player, you'll get it in here. What's also nice about this is that this is geared towards gaming, so it is running with an ARM processor as opposed to an Intel chip that the Nexus player is running, so it's going to probably have a little bit better game compatibility, and it's got a nice processor, a Snapdragon 805 chipset, a quad-core Crate 450 CPU that's 2.5 gigahertz per core, as well as an Adreno 420 GPU, 2 gigs of RAM, and 16 gigabytes of onboard storage. And it is a little bit limiting only to have 16 gigabytes of storage because you're not able to get access to the USB port here for storage devices. I wasn't able to get anything that I plugged into it to work. I could plug in keyboards and mice, and even their pack-in game controller, if you get the bundle, will also plug in via USB cable to this if you so choose. It's Bluetooth too, and I'll get to this in a minute. But you cannot get anything on or off a memory device, which was unfortunate. But it does have Ethernet, which is lacking on the Nexus player, and of course you hook it up via HDMI to your television. Now this does suffer from a pretty significant omission, and that is you cannot run Netflix on it. It's not installed on the device, nor will you find it when you start browsing through the Google Play Store here. You've got Hulu Plus and a few other services available, but no Netflix, no Amazon, no HBO Go. All of the things that are on the Nexus player are not on here, and they're both running the same operating system. I suspect it's probably more of a CPU issue than it is a licensing issue, but again, just very odd that you can't get access to some of those very basic entertainment apps that are on the other Android TV device on the market. So I'm sure this will change, and perhaps by the time you see this video, it will have Netflix available, but at the time that I'm recording this, it doesn't have it at all, and that is a pretty big omission. Now, it does support the Google Chromecast technology, so you can drop YouTube videos from your phone over to the device and have it play back on the Forge TV, but that doesn't work with Netflix either. So you can do it with YouTube and the Google Play stuff. You can't do it with Netflix right now. So for some reason, Netflix is completely locked out of the device. Now, another omission is that it lacks a physical remote control. It relies on an app, and that app is currently available in the Android App Store, coming soon to iOS at the time that I am recording this. Now, you can control the game console with this game controller, but you can't pair it up unless you have access to the remote control to get through the menus to do it. So you can plug the game controller, at least their game controller, into the USB port, but when it's in that mode, the Bluetooth on the controller is shut off, and you can't pair it up unless you can get the app working. The app crashes all the time. It works, in spurts, but generally you will get a crash, and it's not very fun, and then it has a problem seeing the device again. You have to kind of force quit the thing, go back in, and eventually it might pair up again and get working. So it isn't the best user interface at all. If you buy it without the game controller and don't have an Android device, you're pretty much going to be out of luck, because unless you want to have your game controller tethered to the box all the time, you're not going to be able to control it. Once you do get the Bluetooth enabled, you can talk to the box with this and get off and running that way, but it would have been nice to include a regular remote control with it. All right, we're going to take a look at some games right now. One of the things that I noticed with this is that there isn't really any kind of store or guide for finding things that are really going to take advantage of this hardware. There, on the Nvidia devices, they have that Tegra store, so you can pop in and see some of the things that they've curated that runs really well on their hardware. All this had was just 3 games installed in the game section here on the main menu with really no explanation. Bomb Squad, Asphalt 8, and Age of Zombies, all games that you can get, of course, on other devices, and it certainly runs okay. It does feel kind of a nice feel to it. The graphics are nice. It doesn't have any lag or slowdown here. This is certainly not a fast-moving game by any stretch, but as you can see, it does run, and it runs pretty well. But it would have been nice for them to have given me at least some kind of guide for where I should look for things that really will take advantage of my new console, and there really wasn't anything there. Of course, you can go scroll through the Google menu and find some things, but one of the things that I noticed was that one of my favorite games that I play on some of my tablet devices here, NBA Jam, gets into this weird bug where it says you need to be connected to the internet, which of course I am. I've got the Ethernet plugged in, so that wasn't playable. Castle of Illusion worked just fine. Now, once in the game, it does run very nicely at a really good frame rate. It looks nice, and what's funny though is that you start to see really the difference in detail between what you can make out on a small screen and a larger one. So when I had this plugged into my large HD television, this didn't look as console quality as it might on my tablet. So there's some things that you're going to notice about your games that you might like on the small screen that don't translate very well onto the big screen. I will say though that the pack-in controller, if you buy the bundle, is very nice. Of course, this is Razer's core business, is making these controllers. This is a standard Bluetooth controller. It can connect via USB also, so if you don't want to deal with any kind of radio issues or anything else like that, you can plug it in directly, and I do like the controller quite a bit. I know a lot of you are going to be asking about Modern Combat, so I will boot that up real quick and you'll get a feel for how that runs on here. This is one game where that issue with the graphical detail on the big screen will become very apparent. This is certainly not going to put your PS3 out of business by any stretch of the imagination, but it controls really nicely. The developers have made this very friendly for controllers like we're using here, and it does translate well onto the big screen, just doesn't really have the graphical detail you would expect out of a more modern console. Now, this is one of those odd things that happens with this. There is no on-screen keyboard for a lot of these games. So right now I'm getting this request to type in my age, and I can't type it in with the controller because it doesn't have an on-screen keyboard, at least available in this game. So I have to get into this buggy app again to be able to get everything working. And for some reason right now, I can't get this thing to connect to it. So I am pretty much stuck. Earlier this evening, I got so frustrated, I plugged in a keyboard and a mouse combo. I have this little remote control keyboard mouse device that I use for some of my home theater devices. I plugged all that stuff in, and then the controller didn't work because it thought the keyboard was the game controller. So it's really, this is the kind of frustrating stuff that I'm running into with this. Now, one thing that does work really well on here is our favorite media player, Kodi, and that is because we have some really good hardware inside of this device to do the sorts of things that Kodi does. The problem, though, is getting Kodi installed on it in the first place. It is a very arduous process because you have to download the APK from the Kodi website and somehow get it to this device. Remember, the USB doesn't work on it. There aren't really any file managers you can download onto it either. So I found this one app, and I think it's called Air Transfer or something like that. I have it loaded up on the front screen here. And what I was able to do is basically upload the app. It's called Air Launch. I was able to upload the app with a web browser into the device to get it working. I couldn't even find a file manager that runs on here at the moment either. So I did a couple of crazy things, got it installed, and here we are. So we're going to switch over to my other camera here. We'll load Kodi back up again and take a look at some things that we can do with it. So what I always like to do is first check out my Blu-Ray Mkv files. I keep a nice library here so I can watch Blu-ray files on any TV in the house. So we'll just maybe stream over to Ghostbusters as an example, and we'll just load that up real quick. And it will pretty much come up very quickly, about as fast as it does on other devices I've used around the house. The video, I'm just going to skip through a couple of spots in the video here, and it does play and stream relatively fast, and I haven't really found any issues with video playback, and I wouldn't expect to given how much processing power we have available to us here. Another thing that works really well on it is live television tuning also, and I just went out a little bit too far, so let me go back over there. I do like the interface. I think they've done a really nice job at Google making this interface work. So we're going to back out a little bit here and go over to my HD Home Run add-on that I have running on Kodi, and we'll just grab that real quick. And I have it already tuned to one of my television stations here locally, so it's connecting to a device I have down in the basement that brings in my cable television and streams it to devices in the house. And this is an MPEG-2 stream, so this is actually a little bit more involved than some of the MPEG-4 stuff we usually play on Kodi, but it does work as nicely as some of my higher powered devices do in the house. So I think there's a lot of potential here for this to be a good multimedia device, provided they can at least get us some kind of remote control that can work, and they can put Netflix on it too, because there is some things significantly lacking from here. Now, one of the things they promised with this device was the ability to stream games from your computer through the console onto your television, kind of like Steam in-home streaming, but through a relatively inexpensive Android box. Unfortunately, that feature is not yet available. The software for the PC just isn't ready yet, so you can't do it. So it's another thing that just isn't quite ready, and I think that is kind of the overall theme of this device. My theory is they were probably trying to beat Nvidia to the market. Nvidia is going to have a Shield version of console also. So Nvidia, of course, has the tablet as well as the game controller with the built-in screen, which do stream games currently from PCs with their Nvidia hardware. They're hoping to do the same on the television. And I think what happened was Razer really wanted to get this out and sold to kind of beat Nvidia to the punch. But I think it's a pretty poor strategy because this was not a very good consumer experience. You know, putting all the Android limitations aside, the fact is that when I got this, plugged it in, all I saw was the Android menu and a couple of games sitting there, but really no way to know what things I should try, what things really show off the hardware. It really felt like, you know, here's your game console, have fun. It really didn't give me much of a flow to get into it, to really feel like I bought something that was going to give me some entertainment value. I had to kind of hunt around for things myself, and not everything worked right. So I think I would wait on this if you're thinking about buying it, which is a major disappointment because I think the hardware is definitely sound. Everything about it is on the right track. It's just they have to get the software ready, and they need to provide some kind of experience for customers so they know how to get something out of it, and that's going to be a big component there. So if you haven't bought it yet, wait. That's my recommendation. I would wait also to see what Nvidia's got coming out also, because that might be a little bit more polished when it does get released. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.